Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the program Shagalinku. It's good to have you here on the Saturday's edition of the program. On Tuesday, we were here to talk about gender-based violence, where we had Dr. Chris Ugu, all the way from Enugu, to talk with us on the subject of gender-based violence and how we can stop it. So today, we'll be looking at a series. We're actually starting a series today, and it's titled All Life Matters. It's a series we'll be doing from now to throughout the week, and we'll be looking at a few things, as relates to gender-based violence, human rights violations, and all that. And I posted the topic and the flyers some days back, and it's generated a whole lot of comments from people. We'll be reading them as the program progresses. This is just to welcome you officially to the program. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and I'm your anchor for the program. My guest will be joining me shortly, all the way from Dublin, Ireland, and we'll be looking at a series of issues. Now, there's been a whole lot of outcry about gender-based violence against women, but we also realize that young girls, are also being violated. Young girls who are taken as house helps, to work in houses, and sometimes it's not just as house helps. So some women go to the village, or some families go to the village. They have maybe younger elder brother or elder sister whose children are in the village, and they take such children to the city, promising their siblings or their elder ones or younger ones that they'll be training such children in the township, and they end up not really training them or sending them to school. They've eventually turned them to house helps and all that. And there's so much of ordeals that house helps go through. We hear sometimes that the madams don't give them food to eat. Some even sleep on the corridors. Some don't take their baths for so many days and all that. And you begin to wonder, my worry is, if we fight for gender equality, and if we are fighting for gender-based violence and asking men not to violate women or abuse women, why are women also abusing other women? My guest and I will be looking at other issues too, especially the mother-in-law thing. So yeah, women are also another issue to themselves. We will be expecting that women should build each other up, celebrate each other. You found out places where women are bosses in that office and female workers can barely breathe. So we'll be looking at all this as I bring my guest to join us. She'll be introducing herself, and then we'll quickly run through the topic, because we have so many things to talk about. Trust me, with Chief, you can never be short of what to say. Hello, Chief.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Ellie,
Good afternoon, Chief. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we would like you to introduce yourself. You've been on this show a couple of times, but maybe for the first timers who are viewing us, we'd like you to introduce yourself, what you do, where you're from, and then we'll go to our topic.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Ogbeyalu-Okoye. I'm a mother of 4 beautiful children. I'm married to an amazing man. I am a forensic accountant and a risk and financial analyst. But I've worked for so many years. I've worked with different NGOs, and my passion is actually women, and fighting against gender inequality, fighting against domestic violence, and fighting against abuse, But this topic is kind of different, because we fight for these rights for women too, and find out what the problem really is, regarding child abuse. While we fight against domestic abuse, we also need to look at what's happening within the household. Thank you.
Wow. I'll be calling you Chief throughout this program, because you also didn't add you are a chief, and I don't have money to kill cows. So let me respect African protocol and call you Chief throughout the program. Okay. I noticed the topic was so controversial when the flyers came out. In fact, you and I, when we were also brainstorming over the topic and the bullet points we'll be talking about, you also confirmed it that the tables will be shaken today and all that. Let's even start with the domestic violence and the child abuse that you talked about. Why will a woman take a child from the village, promising that they will put her in school? Let's even use housemaid. Now, yes, I know houseboys are also affected, but majorly the ones we see most are the house girls, you know. So why will, and then the one that happened in Kaduna recently was the one that drew all the uproar. Just when we were battling the one of last year in Lagos, where a woman put a housemaid in a cage where dogs are in, we just got over the shock of Ochenya's own that she was raped to death. So many other issues keep coming up. Now, let's even look at it. Why will a woman take a child from a home, and when she knows she can't take care of that child like herself or like her own children, and then she maltreats the housemaid?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to address the system in Nigeria. Okay, we are both Nigerians, so we're going to use Nigeria as an example. And all the cases that have been going on, all the domestic abuse, Nigerian women, African women. Yeah. So when you look at the system in a country, the laws governing certain jurisdictions, and you wonder if it's actually just reading and not being adhered to, because these are things we overlook most of the time. When someone is abusing somebody or involved in domestic violence, what does the law say? How does the law take it up? Now, talking about domestic abuse, we're talking about most of the time they're children, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's slavery. You take a child and walk the child, her fingers to the bone. She becomes a domestic staff at the age of 9, 10. What does the law say? Why is it being allowed in Nigeria for someone to go to the village and pick a child, an innocent child of 9 years? I have seen helps, 8 years, 9 years, and many years ago to us it was normal. We thought it was actually very normal. Nobody talked about rules and regulations in a country. Nobody talked about child abuse and legal age of a child working or leaving the home. Now that is a serious flaw in our country, because they overlook the fact that this is a child, right? Not
Yeah.
up to the age of 18 or 16, whatever the law is. And then you take a vulnerable child that knows nothing from the mother or the parents, bring that child to your home and begin to maltreat that child. Now, the child would either run away or take it all in out of fear. She doesn't know better. You know, this is how life has treated her. So she's just going to accept it.
Mm.
Again, you go to the village, a poor family, you offer them money, and they gladly give you and trust their child to you, hoping that after 1 year, whatever the agreement is, you're going to put her through school. And this money now coming from you to a very poor home is going to help them probably in farming, in a petty trade or something. So it's sort of like trading that child, for
Mm.
money.
Yeah.
And then it goes there. They really can't do much because they've given you the money. And it's now up to you to treat the child like yours or maltreat the child. And in most cases, these children are being treated, right? You
Yeah.
bring them from the village, she's poor, and there is nobody to fight for her. Now, her parents can go to the police station, because even if they go and report to the police, they have to pay some money. They have to make a statement. Someone has to represent them. They have to get a lawyer, and they can't afford all that. Now, there are so many cases of where you bring in a child, you don't feed her until she's finished doing the chores in the house. Now, we're talking about this child waking up 5 a.m. in the morning and cleaning the entire house. So probably 1, 2, and that's when the child now can have her breakfast, right? And the child, now, for ye would go to work at 7 in Nigeria. Here in Ireland, it's 9 o'clock, right? And then after that, you have the lunch break, an hour. And then after that, you close at 5. You're not allowed to work to exceed a certain, time. That's the law. You're just not allowed. Now, I'm asking, does that law exist in Nigeria? I don't think it does. It's up to your employer.
Discretion. Yeah.
Yeah, to decide that. Now, this is a child we're talking about. And then she's not allowed to sit with your family in the dining, to eat. And most of the time in the toilets, very deplorable. You're capitalizing on that, she comes from a poor home and nobody's going to speak to her, speak for her on her behalf. And the law cannot do anything to you. I am not going to put it down to, the family, the law. I'm telling you, the government, the law is part of this problem. The society is part of the problem. Yes, the women that take these children are part of the problem, and they are part of the society too. So we look at it in many angles. We are looking at the society, one that overlooks that. You see a child being maltreated and you go like, it's none of my business really. They said they paid, and whatever they want to do, let them do to the child. I have got my own problems. And then you see someone else that would, report to the police. The police would say, okay, you have a case before us. You're going to pay so amount, but I don't have it, sir. Then there's can do to help you. If you're not going to pay, then we're not going to help you. I beg, come out, Joe, and carry your problems. So you see, society is part of the problem. The issue is, how do we tackle these things? And I can tell you the most powerful tool we have is social media. Nobody wants to be named and shamed on social media. And that is significant to curb domestic violence against your staff or domestic staff. It is very significant. It's going to play a powerful role, since most of the time the policemen, the poor people can't be held by the police. The only way to do this is to go on social media.
Wow. Okay. Let me read a few messages that came in here so we can also move on to a whole lot. This one is from Farouk Mohammed Bello. It says, no child should serve as house helps. Authorities should also investigate and control the rate of child trafficking because it's the major cause of child abuse. The government should also pass legislations that can help curtail and enforce law to protect the victims. Education is of paramount importance too, because no educated parents would send their children to work as house helps. Also, educated parents would have jobs and know the repercussions of not sending their kids to school instead of working as house helps. Offenders should be punished, and the law enforcement agencies should act accordingly. I think this person just spoke your mind, because you're talking
Exactly.
also about the law, that it's very, very important. I got another one here from Odiambo, all the way from Kenya. And it says, first and foremost, let's clarify whether we'll be discussing child abuse or maltreatment of house helps. They are both huge topics, and we can't adequately discuss them together. Then she goes back to say, still from Kenya, only a fool mistreats a house help. I call them domestic managers, since I give them the authority to manage all my domestic affairs. How do you annoy a person who cooks all your meals, clean your personal items, and take care of your children? Knowing what I can do in a fit of anger, I would rather let them be, and everyone is happy. No one is complete. We all err. Why then would a house girl's mistake seem so gross and unforgivable? And then she finally says, house girls are abused in all fronts, poorly paid, their welfare not considered, sickness, bereavement, discriminated upon. There are houses where they can't mingle with the family. Formal guidelines on domestic work are simply not followed. In this era of collective protection, they should come up with an association That is Odiambo from Kenya. You have any response to this, Chief?
Yes, I do. I think she made a very valid point, actually, because, see, I think first and foremost, if anyone is going to give out the child for to be a domestic staff, the age of the child should be considered, should be number one. Is it legal for the child to go on? Now, most of them, hide under the shadow of, oh, this is my aunt or my relative. She's coming to live with me and I'm going to help her out, put her in school. But we know what it is. You have to consider the age first and foremost. Are they being paid adequately? Like, did you agree on something and then you don't meet up? There has to be a legal documentation on that. And a lot of families, like I said, are poor and would not be able to afford a lawyer. But I would say in Igbo land, we have people like Omonna, or an elder in the community. Be a witness to everything. You're handing your daughter over to someone. You call the elder and say, okay, this is it. This is the agreement. Can this be put on paper? Can I print on this, for future purposes? I think it's very important to keep documentations and all that. And then again, if the child isn't old enough to be a domestic staff, do not for any reason give your child out for that. It's probably wrong on the part of the parents who do that and collect money. Some of them give that out because they are owing, a particular person and they have to redeem that debt. So they have to give the daughter out for that for a year, or, it's something we all have to consider. And if you have a domestic staff in your house, why put her through torture? Like, would she really be strong enough to, satisfy whatever, 100% if she's going to sleep in the toilet and drink out of the toilet? You put her in the toilet, give her a cup, and then tell her if she's thirsty, she should scoop out of the toilet bowl. How's she gonna walk properly? And if she falls ill, it's still on you.
Yeah.
You're still gonna pay the
hospital bills. Yeah.
Maltreat her, and she's gonna take care of your kids. You're gonna go to work. So whatever she does, I'm now gonna blame her. It's out of frustration. Now, this is the way your mother treats me. I'm going to treat you the same way.
Sure.
It's important that we treat our domestic staff, right. If it's a legal document, if there's a documentation on that, you follow the terms and the conditions, and everybody does what he or she is supposed to do. Now, why I say there should always be, the legal ages. You hear stories about the domestic staff wearing torn clothes, probably no shoes, and old worn-out slippers, and she wears the same thing to sleep, to do chores, and to church. Or you manage to get just one dress for her for church. Now, if it's someone within the legal age, you can pay her. Now, let her sort herself out, buy her own clothes, on whatever toiletries, and that wouldn't be a problem anymore. It wouldn't be a problem for you if you have 5 kids to take care of and you don't have time to take care of another person's child. Then get someone who is an adult, 18 years plus. Pay the person monthly, even if the person is living with you. You have no business with the person's, welfare, personal welfare, like the hygiene and stuff. She can do that herself, and then you always have to give her a break. You can't tell someone to work Monday till Sunday. Even machines don't work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have to give her the weekend off. You have to give her break, an hour or 2 hours break. And she has to close work at a certain time. And these things have to be documented, to curb this child abuse and domestic staff abuse. There has to be legal requirement for that, and there has to be consequences for that as well.
Okay, we'll take a few messages here. I got this one from Karim all the way from Philistines in Asia. You might have to help us read this, Chief, before we go on.
We treat our domestic staff well. Karim Jackson.
Okay.
That's
Yes. Another
okay.
one is here, so you might read this and let's respond to it.
Okay. I also think people who abuse house help or maids are basically doing that because there's no agreement binding the contract. Most people think they are doing favors to a house help as such. They are of the belief that a house help doesn't deserve anything good. Yeah, that's from David Ebele.
Yeah, you said it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it that it's very important that they write an agreement, even if it's for the homeowners or something.
How
And yeah, I think you said that it's very important, even if it's to Tom Print. And Jackson again says, nice topic. Black Americans are watching you from Asia in the Philistines Island. Thank you very much. It's good to know that you joined us, Karim. Good one there. Chief, we'll come back and talk about the issue that you raised about them sleeping in the kitchen, bedroom, and all that. But let me also ask that why will a mother, yeah, maybe it's poverty and all that, but then why will a mother also give out a child for house help issues? Because sometimes too, fathers also use these girls to settle land disputes. So they are owing some land portions or farmlands over the previous farming season, and they can't pay back, and then the girls are quickly turned in. But let me quickly read some more messages that came on the other side, and then you could respond. This one is from Haja Ishatu Sule, all the way from US. She says, no child should suffer even in his father's house, talk less of slaving away to earn his parents a livelihood. I'm sure those parents who send their children out to fetch them fortunes don't know how they maltreat and don't know how they are maltreated. And because they don't visit them in the places they are taken to, these children sleep in kitchens, bathrooms, making them vulnerable to molestation and all sorts of evils. Some are even perpetrated by the children of the Ogas. Please, let's keep our children under our care. Fido says, thank you, Haj Aisha Sule from the US. And Fido's here in Kano says, some women are just heartless by nature, treating innocent children badly, forgetting what will happen to their own children when they are no more. These children didn't choose to be poor. They are human beings too. Of course, their life matters. This is bad. And then Victoria made a point here. He says, Victoria Samuel Nga in Kano says, the rate at which our women are becoming heartless is alarming. If you as a woman think it's easy to keep the home, work and do some other activities, why hire someone's child to help out? If all these heartless women will be reasonable, they will treat these helps with love because their families' lives lie in their hands. Them no dey fear say these house girls fit poison them, because the way your baby girl is precious to you, that's the same way the house help is precious to our family. If you can't treat them well, don't take them. Yeah. Any response to that, Chief?
she has an absolute point, you know. And then there was, who was she, the same person that said mothers don't give out your children? Is
No,
she?
he's another person. No, another one. Yeah.
Yeah, mothers don't give out your children. Unfortunately, mothers will keep giving children, you know, for certain reasons. They need them to go to school and they can afford to put them in school. And then someone comes looking for a house of, oh, your child is going to live with me for a year, and after that I'll put her in school. And then you find out that they never do. They stay there for a year, they can afford to put them in school, but they never do. Sometimes they stay there for 5 years. And she also something, keep in touch with your daughter. A lot of them don't allow that. A lot of them do not allow their house helps to keep in touch with their family members, especially those maltreating them. They are literally prisoners. They are prisoners, domestic staff, and they are prisoners, right?
Yeah.
Or, the family wants to visit, the woman stops them from visiting. If they get phone calls, you know, f- from the family, the woman is there, it's on speaker, she needs to listen to every conversation about that woman, that deaconess that did that grievous harm to that child. The child said that whenever her father or her parents call her, she is forced to speak in English, which she isn't fluent in. So she doesn't have the right words to explain what's happening to her. The woman is there and she's saying, you cannot speak in your dialect. I don't understand it. You must speak in English. And then she speaks in English while the woman is there monitoring her calls. And would you, as a child, tell your parents right in front of your madam, who is that wicked?
Yeah, that
Oh,
she's maltreating you.
oh, woe betide you if you do. Because as soon as that phone call ends, she's going to get something deadlier than what she already has. So that's just it. These kids are vulnerable. And see, their parents don't give out their children in good faith, as in, this is what's going to happen. And they will tell the child, be good, serve them, do not be stubborn. I'm counting on you. They've given us some money to start a little business. And they promise, you've always wanted to go to school, right? So they promise they're going to put you in school after a year. So serve them well, and then after a year, you're going to be in school. But it never happens.
Hmm.
I'm not going to blame the people from the villages, the poor people. No, I'm not going to blame them. But again, they need to document these things. They need a witness. They need an elder in the village. They need to have witnesses to all these things, because when it happens, they don't have the money to hire a lawyer. They
Yeah.
don't have to defend themselves. So all they need is, this is what happened. This is the agreement. And this is how I gave them my daughter. This is a picture of my daughter when she left, and this is her now in hospital. That
Hmm.
is all. So it's very important to have a written agreement, terms and condition. Even if they can't read or write, they have to get someone to do it.
Okay, thank you very much. In case you just joined us, the program is Shagalinko every Tuesdays and Saturdays, 2 p.m. And you can drop your comments and we'll also read them. We're looking at house helps. It's actually a series of all life matters. So wherever we stop today, I pray Chief will have time maybe on Tuesday again for us to continue, because it's a series that we'll be looking at also from the mother-in-law's angle, and why mother-in-laws are also treating fellow women, their daughter-in-laws, the way they are, and a whole lot of other things that we'll be looking at. We're just starting the discussions or this the episode with the house help issues because of the recent case in Kaduna and so many others rising. I've always said here on the show that for one incident that happened, 1,000 must have happened that went unreported. So it's just the truth. We will come to mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws shortly, but let me take a few more messages and then we come. This one says, this is a great topic. This is from Kelvin Sunday in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. It says, this is a great topic. I wish all the women, including their husbands, can hear this. House helps are supposed to be treated well because they are the ones that cook what you will eat. And they are the ones even close to your children more than you, the parents. They teach your children, including you, the parents, how to keep the home in order. They are everything in the house. Now you are abusing and starving them because of what? All because of jealousy and hatred, that they are doing more than they are supposed to. Note, there are still good madams around, sir. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we are not doubting that there are good madams. We're just saying that a whole lot of times when you hear issues like this, sometimes they let me even ask Chief, where are the men when issues like this happen? Because for Ochenya's case, I know that the man was the one constantly raping her while the madam, was just there supporting. And we've had instances where the house girls or house helps get pregnant by the oga of the house. Madam helps in aborting the baby and then sends the girl back to the village and brings another one. She will say it's better that her husband will sleep with the house girl at home than to sleep with another girl outside who might have another child, and then there's a tussle for property when the man eventually dies. Where are the men in all of this that the madams are maltreating these house helps?
Thank you. If you hear such stories about the women, bringing in house helps for their husbands to rape, we're talking about perpetrators. The two of them are guilty of the same thing, abuse, helping an abuser, and a man being a sexual predator. But again, both of them should go under the knives of the law. In a lot of cases where domestic staff or house helps are treated badly and the men are not aware of it, remember the men are working. They get up 7 a.m.
leave very early.
Yeah. If their job is 7 a.m. and you live in Lagos, I know how Lagos is. If you're going to get to the office at 7, leave the house at 4 a.m. and then you're coming back at 5, and you're closing at 5 and coming back at 10, and all you want to do is just eat your dinner and go straight to bed. So most of the time, a lot of men are unaware of what's happening, of the maltreatment their wives are, giving out to the house helps. They are actually very, very busy. Weekends, in most cases, they would notice a lot of things. But again, a lot of house helps don't even go near the yoga in such cases.
They never dare.
The yoga is in the parlor. They wouldn't even go there to sweep. The yoga leaves the living room. So how would yoga see the scars and the marks on her body? And then Oga would see and then ask the wife, and the wife will pounce on him and say, "Oh, you've started noticing her. How did you even see that scar?
You want to sleep with her now, ba?"
Exactly. So most of the time, the men are unaware. They are walking and they think everything's fine till the police comes knocking. And then, you hear them when they say they're not aware, they didn't even know it was this bad, and I do believe them because I do believe them because my father was actually was a very busy when he was working, right? He was always traveling. He was never around, and he would breeze in and out, and he didn't even know the names of the domestic staff we had. So do you really blame such very busy people? Maybe right now he's retired, he's 80.
Yeah.
But, I would say in Igbo, and Royala. But then, a busy family man trying to put food on the table, extremely busy and hectic job he had, and you would want him to come and also take care of the domestics. He wouldn't be able to handle that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Go on without the knowledge of the man.
Yeah, because the man just concludes that the wife should be there to do all that. After all, the wife also takes care of the children in his absence. So he just feels everything should be under control, by the woman and not really pay attention. Okay. What I will read two more messages and we'll move on to mother-in-law and father-in-law, because this child abuse is actually even taking a whole lot of the time. Something happened on the wall when they saw the flyer, and a whole lot of discussions went on. We may not read the thread, but let me just take two messages from there. When the flyers came out, Tina Uwem said, "It's because the person's conscience has been taken by the devil. Else, I don't see why any reason a human being will be so wicked to a help to the extent of using pressing iron on the innocent help. No matter what that help has done to you, send her away instead of you representing the devil here on earth. There is repercussion awaiting such a person, even to her own children yet unborn." And then the wahala started on the thread. So many people were replying, and then Linda Uche came in and said that it is due to poverty. The poverty is the cause why many women give out their children, and then they get maltreated. And she says, let me even read hers and reply what Tina said. He said, Linda Uche here says, a woman who is from a poor background that slept in a raffia mat all through her life is more likely to ask a maid to sleep in the kitchen than a woman who was raised to see many beds with soft mattresses in her father's mansion. Even a gatesman sleeping in a soft mattress. So where will Tinana said, let me make it simpler. A woman who has never seen a dining set, whose family never had a dining set, will likely not allow her underage help to use one when she's married, other than one who grew up seeing a dining set as a place where everyone should have meal. And then she said it's poverty. And then Tina replied, Linda Uche, my question now is, where will the poor woman get money to take care of a maid when she has not seen enough food to eat? Here we are talking about one of the causes of maltreating maids, and I am deliberating on one of your answers as poverty. So I repeat the question again. Where will a poor woman get money to take care of a maid? And then they went on and on and on, that I will spare you that tale of, but it's on the wall so people could still read it. So let's wrap up on this, and then we'll briefly touch on the next segment, and then maybe we'll do the continuation. What do you have to say, Chief?
No, I don't believe it's poverty. If you can afford a domestic staff, then you're not poor, really. If you can afford a domestic staff, then you can afford to give her a bed. You can afford to make her comfortable because she's going to work for you and live with you. Yeah, whatever it is you're going to eat, that's what she's going to eat. Whatever your kids, if your kids have you never saw on a mat in your father's house and now you have a bed, give her a bed. Treat her like one of yours. Or simple and short, do hire or take an underage child as a domestic staff. It should be against the law. I am so sure it's against the law. This is child slavery, and it's wrong in all forms. Get a domestic staff you can pay that can take care of her needs as well as the children house, and it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's quickly touch on mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, and then we'll see how time favors us to still catch up on any of the series before we go on to the next one, maybe on Tuesday and all that. So what's the situation like? A mother loves her children so well, her daughter, her son, they grow up to get married. She puts her eyes in them and wants the best marriage for her children. So how come, for her daughters particularly, so how come she becomes a mother-in-law, to her son's wife, and then she wants to treat her daughter-in-law badly the way she would not expect her own daughter to be treated in the other marriage her daughter will go to get married to another man?
Well, it's actually very shocking when you hear stories about mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and how they leave their houses and come over to, their children's house and, try to take over. I think we should leave two adults married to sort out their home affairs, to be honest. You really can come from your own house, come into your son's house and mess up. And, there is a story I heard about. A friend of mine actually told me that story. Her ex-mother-in-law would always come after 2 years, and ask her, you mean you're not pregnant yet? Why aren't you pregnant? What's keeping you? Are you a man? She said that broke her heart. She continuously tortured her, that broke her heart. And she sought side. She went to an old friend and, broke down and said, this is what I can't take this anymore. And then eventually she leaves the marriage. She gets married again and she has 3 beautiful kids. She is married now. Now, the problem, the man marries again and he still doesn't have any child. So sometimes, we get things wrong. If you're a mother-in-law, you have to be a mother to your daughter-in-law. Treat your daughter-in-law exactly how you're going to treat your own daughter. Don't come in and, try to set your foot down and say this must be this and, just, break up the entire home. It's absolutely wrong and it's unacceptable. And most of the time it happens in Africa, Nigeria, where I come from. That is where you hear terrible stories about mother-in-laws, messing up a home, coming to fight the daughter-in-law, bringing the daughters to beat up the daughter-in-law. What is just that?
Wow. Okay. Good one. So we have less than 6 minutes or 8 minutes to go. I'd quickly like you to touch on the aspect of um, the gender-based violence that women also perpetrate on their men. I think maybe this will build the focus for the continuation that we will likely do on Tuesday, because every time the society and people see gender-based violence, mostly from the angle that the man is the one perpetrating the violence on the woman. Many times it's been swept under the carpet when the reverse is the case. Let's even talk about that briefly as we take it up from there. Is it that the men have the ego thing, that society has not made it possible where men can come out and also scream, just as women are allowed to say, my husband is beating me, and the society rallies around them? That a man can come out, a man would be ashamed to come out and say, my wife is beating me, and then people, his friends, will even make jest of him even before it gets even to the society and anywhere. And then this whole thing happens a lot, and we see that it is most times when either that man has died due to depression or heart attack, or where the children eventually speak up because they are the first core witnesses that see these things. Because sometimes the wives even cry, roll themselves on the floor and say, it's the man that is killing her, and many times is her word against the man. So what is really the situation why men cannot come out to talk about it, and is it really bad?
Yeah, society has always viewed the women as a weaker sex. And so when women speak, people go like, oh my goodness, this is definitely true. Physically, the men are actually built stronger than women. So when they say, oh, domestic violence, oh, he beat me up, and everybody's going to believe, they're going to say in their heart of hearts, this is true. Let's just hear, what the law has to say. Again, men hardly speak out because the society will see them as weak. Their fellow men would laugh at them and make fun of them. Who are they going to go to? You're a man and your wife beats you up and you run to your father. What's your father going to tell you? Think about it. But in the Western world, in Ireland, there are organizations for that. There is no shame in coming out and saying, oh, I've been abused by my partner. Organizations for men. If you're being abused by your wife, there are organizations for that. There is no shame here. And that is what we lack in Nigeria. It doesn't have to be a laughing matter when a man comes out and says, oh, my wife beat me up or did this and that. Is it until he dies or, accidentally killed? Is that when you go like, oh, that woman, that man actually said that, oh, hey, the woman don't kill him, that kind of thing. And then it's just too late. I think we have to have a different view now. The society has to change. To be honest, the African society has to change. We have to listen to the men, and the men should have. See, it's difficult for a man to come out and say, "My wife is beating me up," and people would even in the court of law, it's difficult. So you have to have your proof. You have to have text messages, phone conversations. You have to record. Once you know that you're being abused, you have to have records of everything. Without these records, I'm sorry, nobody is actually going to listen to you, especially in Nigeria. Nobody's going to listen to you. We heard about Johnny Depp, the famous actor, and his wife, his ex-wife,
Yeah.
Heather, and what happened. She came out first, accused him of domestic violence, and the internet went haywire. The media went haywire.
Yeah, true.
And when they went to time to extend the court case to May, the internet came out again and called him a coward. After abusing your wife, now you're a coward. And then it turned out that his ex-wife for 14 years comes out to give evidence and said, We've been married for 14 years and this man never laid hands on me, never touched my children. And then his ex-girlfriend comes out and says, I've dated Johnny Depp and I am shocked and appalled that he could lay hands on somebody. And then the pictures, the photos, his ex-wife Heather claimed that Johnny Depp attacked and threw a phone at him. One of their neighbors that was there at that moment after that said he doesn't know what she did to her face, but if she was actually abused, the scar would be there. But he was there with her 2 hours later, and her face was perfectly all right. I've just been following this case, and I really feel for men, especially in Africa. A lot of men are going through domestic violence, but they're never ever going to open their mouth to say, when I was growing up, we had a man who would always have a fight with his wife before he goes to work. And you would hear the wife screaming and shouting, oh, Papa, this person will kill me today. You will kill me today. You go kill me today. And the man will come out all disheveled, adjust his tie and take off. After the man died, years after the man died, one of the kids said, it was my mother who beat up my father, who would bite him, who would scratch him. My father never laid a finger on my mother. But it was already too late.
Too bad.
We need to speak out. We need to speak out. Even the men have to summon up. And the men have to support men. So don't laugh at men. Don't laugh at your fellow man. Support him. Support him when he comes to you crying. This is what my wife's doing to me. Give him your support. And that way, he will not die of depression. He would not kill himself. The wife would not kill him. He would have someone to cry to talk to. Emotional support.
It's really terrible, because as you talk about these gory issues, I just feel that I think because society has never been fair on the men, so they don't even know where to go. Their best friends they hang out with won't believe them, will mock them, and they can't come back home in peace and live happily with their spouses, because already the problem is there. And then you begin to wonder what's really happening. And so I really like the point where you talked about the men also being able to support men, because it's not just about to gather in drinking bars, talk about football, talk about sports, business making and all of that. Because the truth is, if your well-being is not taken care of, you could make all the money in the world, but you'll not be able to stay back, enjoy it, and even stay with your children. So like the person you are talking of now, that his wife, beat him up every time, and now he's dead. So you can imagine the children being orphaned for something he could have avoided. I'd like you to take on this last part of it before we even close up in conclusion. There's still this disconnect or two school of thoughts. Some people will say, or some men like when there's a quarrel, before it escalates to physical violence, they'll want to leave the house, like just take a walk. When everything calms down, they come back. But we've also seen from field work and researches that even the women will go to the door, lock the door, put the key, in their brazier and say, you go kill me today, now me and you go die here. And then in that process, where either the man is trying to get himself off the woman's grip and all that, maybe a scuffle starts and something could lead to another. What can a man do in that process or at that moment?
To be honest, I actually believe that in that situation, a man should actually call a friend. And it's obvious that the woman is going to attack him, and he's going to have to defend himself. Probably when the woman gives him 2 dirty slaps or carries like a bottle to break his head, launch at the woman and hit her down. Now, nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody's going to say that's self-defense. Oh, the woman is going to scream, I just stay here, income hit me, push me down, punch my eye, break my nose. And that is what the society is going to believe. Now, if he's in that situation, place a call to a close friend. Tell him to come over. This is what's happening. You don't have to be ashamed to speak out. This is what's happening in my house. Please, could you come over? If my wife hears someone knocking, she's going to be forced to open the door. Sometimes, women in cases, we start shouting and the neighbors gather. And then the man is not able to do anything anymore because their weakness is there. You start shouting, and the neighbors, they're going to make fun of him. Madam, beat him well, beat him. Don't open this door, beat him well. You see what men are avoiding. But there is no shame in speaking out, to be honest. There is no shame. Not one bit. Call a friend to avoid stories that touch the heart.
Wow. Okay, we're wrapping up now. Your final words. Let's see if we could still do a conclusion of this on Tuesday, God willing. But Chief, what would you like to wrap up with as we prepare so much to talk about? There's an issue I would really like you to talk about maybe when we do the next one, and that has to do with property sharing or property acquisition as well, because that's another angle that a lot of disparity comes in, which also leads to death for people. You know, sometimes there's something you posted on your wall about a woman who built mansions just because she had the money, and then the man, he refused the money. So there's a whole lot I really needed you to talk in depth on, but I know we could do a part 2 of this, but we really need to. So it's not just only about joint account, because sometimes people don't do joint accounts, but then where the snag comes in is property acquisition, the cars, the house, a few electronics or things in the house, and that also brings issues. Landed property, not just the building itself and all that. And it's amazing how a whole lot. So when people see couples fight or do gender-based violence, sometimes it's not just about the other room. It could just be about disagreements on what it has to do with acquisition of properties, you know, who earns more money, who is being treated like the slave here. Sometimes men refuse to send their wives to school even when they are capable, because they will feel if XYZ family had sent his wife. We've had instances where men who live abroad bring their village wives to London or US or other countries there, make them become nurses, and then they begin, the wives begin to earn higher than the men, and then she loses control and then wants to. So many fights here and there that we need to tackle. So, but let's just wrap up now. What will be your final words of encouragement, maybe to the men watching who will, like, you know what, this might just even spur them to react and respond?
Yeah, my final words: there is no shame in speaking out. Domestic violence, we must fight against it. You know, for men who think that, you know, they are going to be looked down, the society is going to look down on them, there is no shame in seeking help. There is no shame at all. Speak out to save your life, or leave to live. LEAVE to LIVE.
VE.
And that has always been my hashtag.
Wow.
Leave to, yeah.
Live to live. Okay. Thank you so much, Chief, for being there for us. Promise me publicly that we'll conclude this on Tuesday, God willing. If you could just spare 1 more hour on Tuesday, because there's a whole lot we'll talk about. We'll even look at the psychosocial support angle. A lot of times, we just feel men are too strong, that they don't need that support, that listening ears. A lot of men will just want to be listened. The society concludes on them already. Okay, yes, they are not worried, whatever the flip side of the table is, but just hear them out. Maybe if we just begin to hear them out, things could just turn out for the better, and then we'll know who is actually the victim and the perpetrator. Because sometimes the perpetrator plays the victim, and you know, it comes in a mirage, and then the men, even in their graves, still cry and bleed because no one gave them a listening ear. I watched some of these court proceedings for marriage separations and all that on TV, and you find how sometimes the judges are even harsh on the men. They give so much time for the women to explain, and then she will narrate from Jericho to Jamaica, from Israel to Jerusalem. But when it gets to the man, they are all fire, all fierce, all burning. They don't even want to listen to anything he's saying. So I really must thank you, and we need to look at the other series when we come on Tuesday, God willing, to talk about that. So, Chief, thank you so much. Anybody you want to send your greetings to over here or across the world as we wrap up in the next 30 seconds?
Oh, thank you, Jackson from South Africa, is it?
And Asia.
From Asia. There's another lady from Kano. There's another one from Uyo. You know, all the people.
And Kenya.
Kenya, exactly, and are watching us. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We really appreciate. Without you, the audience, we really can't do much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I must thank you, Chief, for finding time to come in spite of your busy schedule. Okay, people, that's the size of the Saturday's edition. God willing, we'll be here on Tuesday where we talk and take through another angle. You can see with Chief, I told you when we started that with Chief, time just flies, you know. And so we will continue on Tuesday and do a part 2. So if you're a man, you wouldn't want to miss Tuesday's edition, because we'll strictly delve into the nitty-gritty of some of the issues that men go through in the hands of their wives, their mothers, their sister. Because another angle is where there are sister figures who are the mothers in the home. So sometimes they are the ones who are the agbalawanis that tell the wife what to do, that even tells their brother what to do. So we will look at all that, you know. So thank you so much. Well, guys, thank you. This is the size of the program. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and thank you for joining us. Till we see you on Tuesday. Have a beautiful Saturday, and thank you, Chief, for being there for us. God bless you all, and bye-bye.